Good afternoon, my spirited living community, morning, evening, whether you're watching this now live on Facebook or Instagram or on my YouTube channel. Usually goes up there by Thursday evening. Thank you for joining me this week. A little bit later, not that you'd know that if you're watching it on YouTube, than usual because I've had internet craziness. I'm not going to do an Inner Goddess Team video on Mercury retrograde, but we are in the middle of it. It's going on for maybe another week and a half. We won't talk about that. What I would love to highlight today is not exactly a new goddess for me, but definitely one that I just didn't realize. This happens so much when I do this. The breadth and depth of her meaning and her symbolism and her reach, how revered she is. And that is the goddess Ganga, who is, as you might suspect just by her name, she is the personification of the river Ganges in India. And there are so many myths around here about her, around her, how she came to be. And most, I would say many sects of Hinduism have their own variations of her origin stories. She is considered, and if you know anything about the Ganges River, she embodies all that represents. She is the goddess of purification and cleansing and benevolence and mercy. And interestingly enough, because of her connection, very deep connection as the wife of Shiva, she's also connected to very strong, divinely feminine energy and fertility. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So I invite you, when I do these videos, to think about, and particularly if you have some kind of connection with Ganga, with any of the Inner Goddess Team videos that I highlight each week, I would love to hear more about it. I invite you to comment, to give me whatever additional information you have, because I really just do this anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. So, and she was yet another one, Ganga was yet another one where I just found myself going down the delightfully delicious, divinely feminine rabbit hole to learn more about her, some of which I will share with you. And if you want to know more about what I mean when I'm talking about the divine feminine, when you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see in the corner a little eye somewhere in the first couple minutes, and that will show you a whole other video, about 7 minutes or so, that talks about the qualities of the divine feminine and why I'm so passionate about bringing these archetypes, these powerful, beautiful archetypes to life. How I feel that our civilization, our entire planet, humanity, depends on our being able to do that. So let me tell you a little bit more about Ganga. So some of her myths, she's connected most with like the top 3 deities, male deities in the Hindu religion, with Vishnu, with Brahma, and with Shiva. She is said to be the daughter of Brahma, the wife of Shiva, and she's connected into the body of Vishnu. And a lot of her stories and her festivals really revolve around her descending from the heavens to for all kinds of reasons, but basically to absolve many people on earth of their sins. And if you've read anything or know even the least little bit about the river Ganges, you know how sacred that is for millions and millions of people in India who use it as a place to literally baptize themselves and rid themselves. It's said if just a drop of the river Ganges water is like a blessing from Ganga and will wipe away any transgressions. Likewise, cremated remains of people, any sins or transgressions that they have accumulated during their lifetimes, if their ashes are strewn in the Ganges, then they will be purified by Ganga's blessing. So some of her origin stories, I'm going to read them because some of the names aren't always so familiar to me. she, oh, one of the things that I loved is that there are so many origin stories because everyone knows who she is. She's revered by millions and millions, and no worshiper wants to be left out of being able to connect with her. Let's see. So the stories have to do with the different ways that she came to Earth. First, one of them, in one account, she descends to Earth using Shiva to break her fall. And as she falls through his hair, 7 different streams are created, and they infuse. Oh, New York City, I don't know if you can hear those sirens. Hi, right by my window. Doesn't happen very often. The stream of water from the heavens is broken up into 7 different ones, with the main one, of course, being the river Ganges. And what remains, the water that remains, becomes the Milky Way. So as she's as she is descending to Earth, she does this so that she can wash away the sins of 60,000 sons of King Sagara. And these sons offended the great sage Kapila, who in anger burned them to death. So she comes, her blessing, her sacred water, she comes in the form of sacred water, comes down to cleanse their ashes. And one of the descendants of this Sagara, whose sons, 60,000 sons, offended this sage, for centuries, continues to take upon himself to free the souls of his ancestors by doing many austerities. He does all kinds of things for himself. And after centuries of doing this, wow, it's a big fire. Ganga appears and grants his wish, and she goes to Earth and she cleanses him and helps to cleanse and purify all of his ancestors. So that's one version of her ascending to the Earth. The other one that connects her with Shiva, this is probably the most powerful embodiment of masculine and feminine coming together. She represents the yoni. She represents the water coolness, the nurturing side of humanity. And Shiva is the fiery lingam, and they cannot exist without each other. They balance each other. She cools down his fire so that humanity doesn't burn up, and he keeps her water in check so that the earth isn't flooded. And given that, her water is still considered the nectar of life, and that her water is considered a gateway to heaven. Apparently, there's even been scientific studies that talk about the evidence of the purity of the river, which is hard to believe if there are ashes of cremated people in there, but it's quite extraordinary. I have several friends who've been. It's on my bucket list. Here's an image. It shows you a bunch of her symbols. She sits on her animal, her totem animal, if you will, is a crocodile. And she holds in one hand, sometimes she's showed with 2 hands, sometimes she's shown with 4 hands. This one, there are actually, if you look closely, you can see 4 hands. And in the 2 hands, let's see, she carries a water pot. She carries a water lily in her right hand and a lute in her left hand, a flute. And then when she has 4 hands, as she does in this depiction, she's got the water pot, the lily, a rosary, and has one hand in a particular mudra. You can see the mudra that represents purity and protection. So if you, let me see, I think I've talked about, and she wears a white crown. Her colors, if you want to invoke her and honor her, her color is yellow. I have my yellow shirt on today, but then it would also be white or blue. White for purity, blue for water, obviously. If you've got, any symbols of little crocodiles around, she is particularly, if you want to make an offering to her, you can do rice, and particularly saffron rice, which makes the rice yellow. So that's her color. And she's really, if you're looking, she's someone to call on, whatever sort of rituals you do around her. And I always give some websites in my YouTube description so you can learn more about her, because there was so much and so fascinating. What was I going to say? I interrupted if you want to call on her, one of the websites that I'll give you really gives in much greater detail, just some suggestions for creating ritual space for her. But basically, wearing yellow, offering saffron rice, I particularly call on her when you want forgiveness for yourself or for others. Maybe when you're trying to have a baby, really calling on that aspect of divine wife of Shiva with their yoni and lingam connection. And I love this one too, because it brings it beyond ourselves, because she is the primordial water goddess in the Hindu tradition, that she represents, because she represents all different types of water. Anytime you do any sort of activism around protecting or nurturing bodies of water and any watery environment, that's a way to honor Ganga as well. So lots there. I listened, and I can't play it because the YouTube and Facebook police won't let me, but I listened to a really beautiful Ganga chant while I was researching a lot of this stuff. I will put the, if I remember, I'll put it in my social media, my Facebook and Instagram, just a little blurb I do, but it will definitely be in my YouTube description. This beautiful chant, which I'm not going to try. It's more complicated than I can do. I know several Hindu and Sanskrit chants, but this one was a little bit too much for me. But what I will share with you, what I will end with, which those of you that have been with me for a while know how much I love to sing and how I love to honor the divine feminine through chanting. And it's this is a takeoff on a chant that probably my favorite water chant that I've sung many different times here. Hello, Edwin. Hi, Debbie. And it goes, you'll recognize this if you've done any kind of circles with me, or maybe you'll just know it. So I leave you with this water chant that you can also use when you want to invoke beautiful Ganga. We all come from Ganga, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. We all come from Ganga, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. So a little bit of a takeoff on one of my favorite goddess chants. Thank you all so much for joining me, and stay tuned for more installations of our inner goddess team in the weeks to come. I'm now past 3 years that I've been doing this, and it just feeds me, and I hope it does for you. Please comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and let me know if there's goddesses that you would love to know more about, so I can dive in and learn more about some other ones. Thanks so much. Namaste. Bye for now.